Well, hello, and welcome back to the Reaction Shot Podcast. Or maybe even welcome to the Reaction Shot Podcast for the first time. Either way, I'm so happy you're here. For this episode, I am thrilled to welcome actor David Howard Thornton to the show. It's an honor to have him here, and I'm excited that you get to hear this conversation. But first, I wanted to remind you that I'm here in this new season with you, the listeners. So much has happened since season 1, and I couldn't be happier. One of the biggest things to make note of is that I am now officially a part of the You Run Podcast Network. It's a network jam-packed with some amazing creators with a wide range of podcast topics. So hop on over to the You Run Podcast webpage at yourunpodcast.com and check out all the other amazing podcasts that are a part of this family. In fact, I'm going to run you through, quickly, the names of the shows that you need to be listening to here. First up, there's the You Run Podcast Network. First, there's the You Run Podcast. There's the You Run Podcast Horror Movie Reviews. The You Run Podcast True Crime, The Ghoulish Gallery, Movies for Days, Dewey Pod Monster, You Gonna Eat That Crust, Pop Culture Reflections, Video Tasties, The Aardvark and Friends Do Red Dwarf, Paranormal Misfits Podcast, The Girl and the Gay, the Horror Friendly Podcast, Fans of the Dead, Podcast in the Woods, Mondo Street presents Between the Facts, The Horror Nerd Experience, LK the Horror Nerd, Under the Floorboards, I'm With You Now, and Release Date Rewind. A ton of great shows, all in one place at yourunpodcast.com. Again, yourunpodcast.com. Go check them all out. Alright, let's get into Season 2, Episode 15 of the Reaction Shot Podcast, with a close on David Howard Thornton. We're going to trace his journey from childhood dreams, career switches, the terrifying breakout role that changed it all, what's next, and the real-life horrors of the current political climate in our country. It's a compelling blend of inspiration, behind-the-scenes revelations, and openness. David Howard Thornton is more than a silent act. He's a voice who's using his platform in all the right ways. No clowning around here. Let's do this. Hi everyone, I'm Dave and I love movies. So, welcome to my podcast, The Reaction Shot. In each episode, I'll dive deep into a movie of any genre that holds a special place in my heart. But here's the twist. I bring on a guest who has never seen that movie before, until now. We discuss, dissect, and review from pre to post-production to behind-the-scenes stories and well into its impact on pop culture. Will we agree on everything, or will we have wildly different views? Thanks for hitting play. Let's roll tape and find out. Fade in. All right, hello and welcome back to the Reaction Shot Podcast. I'm your host, Dave, and today I have a bone-chilling treat for you all. Joining me is a fellow Dave, yes, another Dave, who's become an incomparable act in the horror scene. That's right, the one and only David Howard Thornton. David, it's an absolute honor to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I've been enjoying a day off finally, so I can't complain.
I bet you never really get much of those, do you?
Not right now, no. I'm trying to make as much hay as while the sun shines at the moment. So I'll rest when I'm dead, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. Obviously, you're a very busy man, super busy. I see that you're constantly doing convention after convention. I think it's like every weekend, it seems. Is that about right?
Pretty much this year.
That's probably pretty exhausting, right?
It can be, but I get to go to a lot of cool places, meet some cool people. So it's like I can't complain at all. I just met like Jason Isaac and Charlie Cox this past weekend, so it's pretty wild.
Hey, you're living the dream. We love to see
Yeah.
it for you. Obviously, Terrifier skyrocketed you into fame pretty much overnight. You're basically everywhere. What would young David think about everything you're going through right now?
Oh, he'd be extremely happy. I think he'd be just bouncing off the walls with, absolute joy and glee over this. So like it's like one of my big, goals as a kid was to like have my own action figure one day. I always loved action figures, and it's pretty wild all the merchandise that's been coming out. So I think my younger self would just be going crazy over that.
Absolutely. I mean, I have the Terrifier popcorn bucket up there.
It's
I mean,
wild.
you're on a popcorn bucket. That's
Yeah,
no one
it's
even
my
dreams
head.
of that. Yeah, that's right. I have a Funko Pop of you too. So yeah, there's figurines everywhere of you. I mean, you're the face of Terrifier. So I think that's absolutely amazing. Now, you grew up in Huntsville, Alabama, correct?
Yes, yes, indeed. As I always say, the smart part of Alabama.
That's a very good way to
Yeah.
put it. What was your childhood like?
It was, to me, it was pretty normal, I guess. Middle class suburban family in Alabama. My dad worked for NASA, and my mom was a former teacher, and she quit that when I was born. And I had a sister. Oh, I still have a sister that's mentally and physically handicapped. So I guess that was a little bit abnormal. But I mean, other than that, I had a pretty good upbringing there at home. Though I was bullied a lot in school, when you were a nerd in Alabama.
Hey,
That's yeah. I was short and with glasses and braces and hadn't like grown yet, so I was still had a soprano voice when I was even in high school, like my first year or so in high school. So yeah, easy target.
sure. Well, hey, look at you now. I mean, they're probably all like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I don't think they want to throw me in the lockers anymore. So
Definitely not. Be like, I'm gonna put that makeup on, and you'll definitely regret it after that. That's for
yeah, yeah.
sure. Um, in your childhood, what were your dreams? What did you want to do when you grew up, other than being on an action figure? What was
Yeah.
the goal?
Oh God, there were so many things. I was constantly changing my mind. Like early on, I wanted to be like a firefighter. When I was in kindergarten, I wanted to be a chemical engineer for a while. Then I wanted to be a veterinarian for a long time, and also an ophthalmologist for a long time. Then I actually got my degree in elementary education, and while I was doing my studies, I decided I had always done acting my whole entire life. I got more fulfillment out of that. So I decided to actually pursue this as a career. So I feel like I chose wisely.
I think you did. I think a lot of people could agree with you there. Now, you were a teacher for a while, correct?
I was. I never really formally got in the real classroom just by myself, but
Okay.
I was in the classroom during my studies and did my internship in like fourth and fifth grade classrooms. So, but through that, I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this.
You're like, get me out of here, get me out of here. You
I was like,
also,
no.
yeah, I read somewhere that you used to be a waiter. Is that correct?
Oh, no, that's very true. I did that for 13 long, painful years, soul sucking years in New York City and parts of Huntsville as well. It's just, you got to make ends meet while you're doing your side acting jobs. And that's, waiting tables was one of the few career options that would give me my days free and had more flexibility schedule wise for auditions and whatever side gigs I had. So that's why I did that.
Yeah. I'm actually a general manager of a restaurant, so
Oh.
I feel everything that you just said. Would you ever go back? Would you ever go back customer facing? You see people at conventions every weekend. Everyone's
Mhm.
coming up to you. How do you feel like that's different in comparison to being a server and having guests in front of you? How does
I think the biggest difference is I'm not being treated like crap for the most, insignificant little things, such as, someone not getting enough ranch on the side of their salad, or they had too many cubes of ice in their water. They wanted 5 cubes of ice and they got 6 cubes of ice
Oh,
in their
yeah.
water. Too much frozen water in their liquid water. So that literally happened one time. This woman had a conniption fit over that. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of nice having some a job where I go off, I get to travel, and people are like, "I love you."
That's very true. Yeah, it's completely
It's
different
very nice.
interaction. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've definitely become a much more, I guess, empathetic person when it comes to service industry workers after have doing it for several years myself. So I'm very easygoing when I go out and eat, or I just go to the stores, anything like that, because I know what it's like to deal with customer service,
Yeah.
and just how people can just be so rude to people over the most innocuous things.
Yeah, especially in today's climate where we're at in the world right now, it almost feels like it's a free for all for people just to be assholes to
Yeah,
other people. Not even just in the restaurant business, but it just really sucks, especially in this role in the restaurant business and how people react to things, much like you said, with simple things such as frozen ice in your water. Like that's absolutely crazy. Yeah.
absolutely absurd when you think about it. Like this is it's just it's like if those are like the biggest problems you're facing, and that's how you handle those kind of problems, then you need some help.
Yeah. You got a great life. If that's the worst thing that
Yeah,
happened to you that day, yeah.
I hate to see how those people react to when something actually important and big happens in their life that's negative. So
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't have
bless
said
their
it better
hearts.
myself. Yeah, bless their hearts indeed. When you go out to eat, do you get recognized? Are people constantly coming up to you when you're trying to have a quick bite somewhere?
It started to happen after part three more so than anything else, but it's still not all the time. But I'm it happens maybe once or twice a week where someone recognizes me in public, which is kind of weird to me anyway, because I'm so used to having makeup on. Most of the roles I've done, I've had makeup on or a
Sure.
mask on or something like that. So I'm amazed when people recognize me as myself. So that's it's pretty wild. It was really fun though when my dad came to visit here in LA back in January, and I was taking him all over the city and doing touristy things, and people were recognizing us all over the place, which was really really fun for me able to do that with my dad, because I think it gave him a chance to like reflect, I guess, on everything, and because he always supported me everything I did. So it was one of those very nice father son moments where it's like, yeah, look, Dad, this is actually working now. So thanks for the support, and just you
Oh,
see that little bit of pride is a special thing to see, what from your father in that way. Because I know a lot of my friends that have gone into this industry don't get that kind of support from their parents, and it's very nice to be able to get that support from my dad and be now like, look, Dad, it finally paid off.
that's great. I'm glad you guys got to have that moment. I think that's absolutely important. Much like you said, I was going to ask you if everyone in your family was pretty supportive of what your steps were in your career, going into history for Terrifier. So it's great to hear that they were supportive of it the entire time and full
Yeah,
circle moment, getting your dad to be like, "Hey, my son made it. He did such a great job," and it's
it's
obviously well earned. Yeah,
it's very very cool. It's like I said, a lot of people don't get that kind of support system, and I think that's one of the things that helped me keep going in all these years. Like, my sister a few times would be like, "Are you sure you want to keep doing this? You should go back into teaching. I'm worried about you. That's more stable career." And I'm like, I was telling her, like, Vonda, I make more money waiting tables than I would have in a classroom,
yeah,
and I
and
have a
that's
lot more freedom.
yeah, for sure. And that's sad too if you really think about it. Making more
Yeah.
money waiting tables than the education system. It's not right. It's not right at
No,
all.
it's not. I realized that when I was in my internship, when I found out the janitor at the school I was working at, because of the union he was a part of, was making more money than our principal who had a PhD. And I was
Damn.
like, that's absurd. And this is a guy that didn't even graduate high school, but he was a
Yeah.
part of a union. So he made more than the person that was actually running the school.
Yeah, something there's not right. I mean, not to knock,
Um,
their janitor position, but
of
someone with
course
a
not.
PhD, getting that education and having something to show for it. Like, that piece of paper is very important, but at the same time, if what's the point?
Doesn't make sense. But that just shows, how education and is not valued as it should be in our society, which is very, very sad, I think.
I agree. I mean, getting back at, my education, I don't use any of that. And being a manager in a restaurant, it's not what I wanted to do with my life, but,
Right.
I enjoy it. And I didn't go to college, but there are people who went to college that are making way less money I am, and they're in the field that they went to school for. And I don't personally think that's fair. I think I'm hardworking, so sure, I deserve to make a living.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we look at it from that scope, it's very interesting.
Really is. Especially these people that, spent all that money for college and they're so in debt because of all their student loans and whatnot. It's just, that's another problem with our education system in our country. You see, don't have those same problems in other nations where, people are going to be in debt for the rest of their lives just for student loans for the very thing you need to have for the degree they need to have to make the money that they need to pay back the loans for. It's
Yep.
absurd.
Absolutely absurd. I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
No.
But so you do a lot of voice acting. That's where you started. What were some of your earliest things?
Voiceover wise, I first started off doing some video game work, just some like side characters for like Two Worlds 2, DLC for that game, Invisimals, some Ride to Hell Retribution, which is something I have kept all these years because it's one of my humble beginnings type of moments because that game was panned by critics.
Oh no.
It's horrible. It's like we recorded everything like 2 or 3 years before it released, and it was supposed to be like this whole like Sons of Anarchy meets Grand Theft Auto game, and it had great promise, but you could tell this was a game that was just put on the back burner, and they just rushed it out the last minute, and they were using takes of us in the completed game that were just our practice takes. So I was like, I'm just reading the script to myself just to familiarize myself with it, and that's what they used. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Mm. Oh man.
It's like this is bad. It's just bad game. I mean, I think it's like it has like a Metacritic score of like 1,
Oh
so it's
no.
this glitch-filled mess of a game. But I always just keep that there just to remind me where I started. So
Yeah.
it keeps you grounded. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, not everything is going to be 10 out of 10. Big, huge project. And so that's where I started. And I did also some work for a children's show called Super Wings on their second season, I believe, where I was basically their go-to animal guy. So anytime they had any kind of weird animals they had in an episode, they would call me in and I would just come in and like bat like a goat or move like a cow or make some weird noise for a giant ostrich or something like that. And I was like, this is fun. And I did that for several other little children's shows and some anime that were non-union. And then I joined SAG, and that kind of hurt me on voiceover work in New York City because most of the work out in New York is non-union.
Mm.
So I wasn't able to do all these non-union. They actually like literally like 2 days after I joined, no, it's the day after I joined SAG, I got a call from this one studio I did a lot of anime work with at New York AV Post, and they were just about to start up a new Gundam Wing series. And they wanted me to be one of the main characters in it. And unfortunately, I had just joined SAG and I couldn't do it. And I was like, man, if they had just called me 2 days prior, I could have gotten grandfathered in and I would have
Sure.
been golden. But it's just
Yeah.
how it goes. The fates have other things in store. But, Terrifier took off. So I guess I'm okay. But I would love to get back into voiceover work, especially now that I'm out here in LA. There's a lot more union work out here. So I'm trying to, now that the strikes are over, I'm looking to get back into doing a lot more voiceover work that way.
Yeah, I know you've talked many, many times before about all the different voices that you do. Do you have a favorite voice?
Oh my God, there's so many.
How many
I
voices
would say
can you do?
probably, yeah, I do over 200 voices,
Wow.
and I do about 25 different dialects. So it's really hard to choose. But I was probably like my variation of the Joker is probably one of my favorite ones because it's like a cross between Cesar Romero and Mark Hamill's version.
Hmm.
So that's one of my favorites. I love doing like Krang from Ninja Turtles. Yeah, Shredder, you fool! You
Hell yeah.
let those turtles escape! It's such a
Oh, that's
weird
awesome.
voice.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I was like, basically, you name me, like, it's like pretty much any cartoon character from like before year 2000. I could probably do it. It's
Awesome.
really weird.
Well, I think that's incredible. I've heard your Joker voice, obviously.
Mhm.
I'm a huge Batman fan. I always have been since I was a kid. So
Yeah.
my grandfather even I used to stay at his house a lot on weekends, and my grandfather made the entire second bedroom at his house to be a Batman room for me when I would stay there.
Oh, that's
Uh,
so cool.
yeah, it was like a Batman bed. He had like Batman wallpaper like lining the walls, Batman lamp, everything you can think of. It was
Yeah,
Batman, whatever. But the Joker has always been my favorite character.
mine
Uh,
too.
yeah, I've heard you mention in different interviews in the past that you really like the opposite side of Batman being the hero, Joker being the villain, but they can't survive without one another.
Right.
And that to me has always been such a pretty awesome like psychological back and forth between both
Yeah.
characters.
It's
And
very, very yin yang.
yes, yeah, that's a perfect way to describe it. And that's always been one of my favorite things. I like the humanity about the Batman
Mhm.
characters. I think that's what makes it stick out so much. I was obsessed with the Batman animated series, and the Joker was my favorite on there.
God,
Uh,
yes.
yeah, so I always love to hear you talk about different types of Joker things. I actually, one year for my birthday, my fiance got one of our friends to make me like a paper mache uh, Joker, which I don't know if you can see it pretty well, but
Oh, that is awesome.
yeah. So
Oh my God, that's
I,
amazing.
yeah, I mean, he made it all from scratch. He just got little pieces of paper, dyed different colors, and my fiance got that for me, and he was like, Dave loves the Joker so much, so
Yeah.
I, great gift. I thought you would appreciate the
Oh, I
whole,
love that. I would,
yeah,
that's definitely a treasure right there.
yeah.
I have like a painting here in my apartment that someone made for me, a fan painted, and I have it framed up on the wall because I just think it's so cool. I have a lot of Joker and Batman memorabilia. I even have like the Lego Gotham City skyline,
Hell yeah.
and I have a little mounted little display for it there because I think it's so. I've been a Batman nerd my whole entire life, so.
No, no, definitely not a nerd at all because Batman's just Batman's incredible.
Oh
We
yeah.
all we love it. If you could play any Batman character outside of the Joker, who would it be?
I would probably want to either do like the Creeper because I think he that's a character that you don't really see a lot of, and
Yeah,
he's very Joker-ish in a lot of ways, but he's more of a good guy. He's just
sure.
insane, and
Yeah.
but or Scarecrow or Riddler, I think would be a lot of fun too.
I could see you doing like a Scarecrow type version
Mhm.
of Scarecrow. That'd be pretty
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
So Terrifier comes along. What was that audition process like?
That was a weird one. It was because I'm used to getting a script, having a script to go off of for an
Oh,
audition, and they didn't give me one. I went in there because this was my first time really auditioning for a main film role, and I walked into the room. Everybody else had scripts, and I didn't have one, and I started to panic. And they called me into the room and like, I am so sorry, I am not prepared. No one gave me a script, and but like, oh, you don't need one. I'm like, okay, cool. So what
cool.
do I do then for this audition? You didn't.
Yeah.
I was never told what to do for the audition, and they're like, yeah, just improvise a scene where you are happy about decapitating someone and go.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
What did you do for it? Like what?
well, they have the audition online if you ever want to check it out. But I did this whole thing where I like cartoonishly snuck up behind my victim, like knocked him in the head, knocked him out, sawed off his head, picked it up, and tasted the blood. And I didn't like the taste of it, so I took out a salt shaker and seasoned it. Tasted again, liked it, and kind of just skipped on my merry way. And that's what got me the role. They asked me right then and there if I could come in for a makeup test. So it's like that never happens in auditions for like film roles. Usually have to go through a whole like slew of gauntlet of callbacks. I know like all of our other leads had to do that for Terrifier. I think I was the only one that didn't have to go through all that. So that was kind of wild.
That's an incredible story to how you got the role. Do you think if you had known exactly what the script was calling for, you would have approached it differently?
I might have, but I'm like, I don't really want to deal with those hypotheticals because
Sure.
like that's all that happened. That's
Yeah.
whatever happened was perfect.
Yeah.
So that's
Yep.
what got me the role. That's what changed my life. So I was like, I'm not gonna worry about if I had done anything different because it's like this is where I am now. So I'm not gonna complain.
Oh, you know what? I love that aspect. Absolutely. Were you familiar at all with Terrifier, with like the short films? Were you familiar with that?
I had seen All Hallows Eve about a year or so before. I was familiar
Okay.
with the character, and it's like when I saw it the first time, I was like, "Oh my god, this character's got a lot of potential."
Hmm.
He kind of reminded me of like a silent Mister, like evil Mister Bean,
Yeah.
or like evil Harpo Marx. And I was like, and I'd always wanted to play a silent, mischievous character before because I'm a huge Mister Bean fan, big, huge. I just love silent comedy. And so I was like, oh my God. Back then, I was like, if I could ever have a chance to play a role like that, I could do a whole lot with it. And then that audition notice came up on Actors Access, and I was like, I got to do this. I knew exactly what they were looking for. I was like, oh, like what the character was. And my agent fought me on it. The agent I had at the time, she was like, this is a low budget independent film. It doesn't pay worth squat. It's not going to do anything for you. And so don't waste your time on this. And I just kept insisting because I just wanted experience in front of a camera. I wanted to like get my foot in the door in the film world because I was at that point I was just stage and voiceover work, and I really wanted to get into film, and I want that experience of being on a set and have something maybe for a demo reel. I had no idea it was going to go this route though.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone could because man, I was first introduced to Terrifier. Again, my fiance was like, we love horror films. And he was like, you need to check out this movie. I think it just came out on Netflix. I was like, all right, cool. We'll watch it. We'll check it out. And the whole time I'm just like, this is fucking fantastic. I love every second of it. Everything about the film just it already screamed iconic.
Yeah.
It just felt everything felt like it fell into place. So I could only imagine what you guys were feeling. What was the first day on set like?
My first day on set was very unnerving for me because it was the big one of the big fight scenes between Tara and I is when I'm hunting her down in the garage, and I jump on top of her and start stabbing at her ankle, and then get on top and start trying to choke her out, gouge out her eyeballs. And I had never done fight choreography like that before.
Uh,
And luckily, Jenna does a lot of stunt work, had a lot of experience in that area, so she was able to coach me through it because I was very nervous about hurting her. And she's like, dude, you can actually press into my eyes if you need to. I'm like, I don't want to hurt your eyes.
I don't want to do
I,
that.
eye stuff really grosses me out, and
Mm.
because I have a lot of eye issues, obviously, and so I'm like, I don't want to do anything to your vision. But yeah, it was very unnerving. But shortly afterwards, we did like a few days later, we did the pizzeria scene. And once we did that scene, I think everything kind of clicked in place in my head about where the character was going to live from now on. Because that's where I got to do I did both creepy and goofy stuff in that same scene. So I was really able to really solidify where he was going to live from then on. And Damien even then was like, yeah, that's perfect. That's where he's got to be. So I'm glad that happened early on in the filming process, so I could be consistent with him from then on out.
Yeah. You mentioned that you have a weird thing about your eyes. Now, do you wear
Yeah,
contacts though for
yeah, I hate it.
yeah, okay. Oh
I
man, yeah.
really hate wearing the contacts, but you got to do it.
Sure.
The good thing is like if you can get a good lens tech on a film, that will change your life. I didn't really have lens tech on any of the Terrifier films where I was doing contacts, but
Mm.
when I did Screenboat, I had a wonderful lens tech on that. And I was like, oh, this is what it's like. Oh, this is okay. This is not too bad when you have someone every 10 minutes coming by and putting eye drops in your eyes and taking good care
Nice.
of you. I like being pampered now.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like the perfect pampering right there. I love it.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I was like, oh, this is how it is. Like, my eyes aren't going to be bloodshot at the end of the day.
Right. Oh, for sure. So when Damien wrote the script for Terrifier, he didn't really have that comedic edge that you bring to it. So he loved it. It worked for him. Now, does he write art that way, or does he kind of just let take the character into those places throughout the
Yeah.
series?
After that, like when he wrote part two, or even like an extra scene in part one, like that we came back to film after, our initial cut of it, he knew to write more comedic stuff for me because he saw how I was, where I like to play around a lot. So he intentionally writes scenes for me just to play around and just see what comes in the moment, like the costume shop scene in part two, or the bar scene and the mall scene in part three. He just kind of wrote those very, just like kind of gave the bare bones explanation of what's happening, but he's like, okay, I want you to just play. And I'm like,
Yeah.
fantastic. Let's see what we can come up with.
Yeah. Well, you guys are definitely a dynamic duo, that's for sure. So,
Thank you. It's
uh,
a hard line to walk, though, because we don't want to go too campy and too comedic with things. We got to also remember to keep him scary. He is a villain. This is a horror film, so we have to find that line of going too far with the comedy. And
mhm.
I feel like maybe sometimes in part three we went a little bit too far with it, but I leave that up to him in the editing room. A lot of times we do different takes too. We'll do comedic takes. We'll also do very serious takes. So he has options in the editing room to see what works best for the moment.
Gotcha. I like that. I think that's a really good approach, especially you play both sides very well, knowing that you're filming the same scenes over and over again to kind of go both routes and see what works best. I think that's a great way to approach it.
Yeah.
I think the balance is definitely really good in my opinion. I think all the goofy stuff that we love about art obviously comes out at the right times. It almost
Hmm.
feels like you get a big epic kill and then there's a little bit of maybe like a comedic relief in some way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. And I think that works perfect because, sometimes nothing really grosses me out watching films. Like I don't get sick to my
Yeah.
stomach or anything, but it's nice to have that after such like the bedroom scene in Terrifier 2.
Yeah.
It's a long sequence and it gets pretty violent. For some of the funnier aspects that happen during that scene, you're still grounded in what's happening, but you're at least pulled out a little bit to not got a little bit of relief for sure. So
Yeah.
that was
I think that's why we're able to get away with what we get away with in these movies, is because we have those little like winks and nods to the audience. Yeah, I'm doing horrible things, but remember, guys, this is also fiction. This is not real. This is heightened reality. This is a little bit crazy and silly at times too. And I do know he's definitely put those moments in there just so it gives the audience a chance to breathe. And I'm like, he even did that in part three, near the end of the movie, with the whole final scene with Gabby and Sienna in the house with the, because it's just there's just so much horrible stuff happening, and it's relentless. And even in the script, we actually had to like cut down that scene by half than what we actually were going to film because just time issues. But I mean,
wow.
that scene got even darker than what you saw in the movie. And at one point, there wasn't really a lot of comedy written to that scene at that point. And he's like, Dave, man, we need something here. We need something here to like just lighten the mood because it's getting way too morose right now. It's like every time he's like, and he came up with this right there on the spot. He's like, every time you go by Lauren, just smack her in the back of the head. So it's like we
Oh,
actually literally added slapstick comedy into into
that's
this horrible torture scene, and it worked. But it's funny enough. It's like it's a throwback to the first film when I had Tara tied up to the chair. I also smack her in the back of the head in that too. So it's kind of like his shtick. He just taunts people while he's torturing them, and it works. I get so many people now that's like that's one of their favorite parts of the films. Every time I go by, I just keep smacking her. It's like that. rule of three in comedy where you just keep repeating the joke over and over again, and it worked. I felt bad for Lauren because we did probably about 30 or 40 different takes from different angles at all those different moments, so she's getting repeatedly smacked in the back of the head, and I tried my best to pull my slap as much as possible so it didn't hurt her too much, but still, I mean, I felt so bad for her.
Poor Lauren. But the scene works
Yeah.
so well. It really does.
Yeah.
I know some of my employees, they went to go see it opening weekend, and of course that's all they wanted to talk about. And I remember them coming in, and that was like some of the first things that people said to me, man, towards the end when Art just keeps slapping her in the back of the head, cracking up, like, but it works so well because it's, it is funny, as you said, like it's actual slapstick humor, but it still works. It still feels very dark and demented. So
Mhm.
even though we're laughing, it's almost like this awkward, really nervous laughter. Like,
Yeah.
man, Art the Clown, dude, he's crazy. So, what was your favorite scene to film in Terrifier 2?
In part two, I would say it was either the costume shop scene or the clown cafe scene. But because the costume shop scene, I just really got to just let loose with my comedic skills. That was my first time I really got to do that in one of these films. Really just get to shine, where I got to just play with a bunch of props, and I went down a whole entire rack of glasses, doing about 2 or 3 different things of shtick with every single pair of glasses. I had like fake poo around me, fake cigars, all that kind of stuff, whoopee cushions. I was just having a blast in there. But the Clown Cafe scene was a lot of fun for me too, because that's when we had a lot of our extras in that, and a lot of them were our Indiegogo backers, so they were fans, and that it just added a whole new like energy to what was going on. And we filmed that literally right before we were locked down for COVID. So we had no idea what was really going on in the outside world at that time. We were up in bumfuck nowhere, upstate Canajoharie, New York, in Amish country.
Oh
And so
no.
we were away from everything, and we were just living the life up there, having a blast that week. And I'm like, I also got to shoot a Tommy gun and a flamethrower in the same day. And I'm
Yeah,
like, my kid was just going nuts that day. I was like,
I
this,
bet.
I mean, nothing prepares you for lighting a human being on fire and seeing that just go whoosh right in front of you. I
Oh,
mean, that was real. We had a stunt actress that was covered in gel, and I literally lit her on fire. I got it on the first attempt. I was supposed to do 2 whooshes, one on the front, one on the back, and she went up on the first whoosh in the front. They're like, okay, that's good. And I'm like, oh boy, and is trying to act while also not trying to show, like going, oh shit, oh
Right.
shit, oh shit.
For real though.
It was that was a very, very crazy day for me, but I had a lot of fun.
Good, good. Yeah, it definitely shows in the scene. I mean, especially in the costume scene. I know my theater when we went to go see it, they were cracking up, and then 5 minutes later they're back to being horrified again. And
Yeah.
how did you feel about hearing people throwing up in the theater after Terrifier 2 came out? How did that
Oh,
make
I
you
love
feel?
that.
Yeah.
That felt great. You know, it's like usually you don't want to see people running out of your movie in disgust, but this is one of those moments where it was a boon for us, because that's what really got people talking about, and that's what got people interested in seeing in the theaters. Because like this can't be real. People aren't really throwing up; they're not passing out, and there are all those images out there of like the best one was this image that was put on like Twitter or Instagram, where this guy has all these paramedics around him and he's sitting slumped over and they got his face blurred out, but they have right behind him a poster of Terrifier 2. And it's like, that is perfect
That's
advertising.
perfect. The best
It was
advertising for sure.
great. Yeah. And it really got people talking, and even happened in part 3 where some people still didn't believe. There's this very popular Instagram or YouTube celebrity that does her, reviews and interviews and stuff like that. And she was saying right before this, like, I don't believe this. I do not believe this hype whatsoever. I still love the movies, but I don't believe people are actually genuinely passing out. And she goes to the theater that night, and 2 different people passed out right next to her. One of them like gashed their head open right next to her, and she had to help with them. She's like, I kid you not, I can't believe this. I said that this was not going to happen, and then it happened right next to me. It's like, this is real. This is a real thing that's happening, because you don't have those kind of reactions happening in movies anymore. It's just like
No.
it's one of those great moments where it got people excited to go to the theater again, because they wanted to see what this was all about. this movie is one. Oh, the Terrifier films are just great, like group movies to see. You got to see them with a big audience. It just makes it that much better. And I think it was putting butts in seats again. And I think it's put a fire under Hollywood's butt to start making fun movies again. And I'm already seeing that happening now. It's just like a lot of the horror movies that came out this year have been fun popcorn flicks. You look at the Hard Eyes and Companion and The Monkey and Megan 2, even though that wasn't really too much of a horror film. But Sinners, I mean, there have been so many great horror films that have come out that are fun.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see that the studios and directors are realizing, yeah, horror can be fun again, because I feel like for a decade or so, they're all just very serious, dramatic, artsy fartsy movies. And I'm like, oh, you can have that. You still can have those. And there's so much room for it, but you can also have fun horror films. And that's why I feel like Sinners, which is probably my movie of the year so far, balance that, where you can be artsy fartsy but also fun at the same time.
Yeah, film was incredible.
Absolutely incredible film. I could go on and on about that film.
Yeah, I heard the hype before I watched it, and I'm like, okay, people are liking it. But then I never heard one bad thing, and I was like, you guys are crazy. This film's not that good. And I just remember watching it, just like, what? This is crazy.
I was so afraid it was overhyped to me, like other films like Hereditary and The Witch and all that were back in the day. And I was like, no, it lived up to the hype and then some. I was like, to me, that's one of the best vampire movies I've seen in a few decades.
For sure.
That was a damn good. The dance sequence in there, that was just brilliant.
Yeah.
It was just so artistically brilliantly done. The whole movie, it was to me, it was a perfect film. I was like, this is great. This is and I'm so happy it has done so well in the box office. So happy for that.
Same. And, even before I saw it, I was rooting for it. Regardless if I ended up seeing it, it was a piece of shit. I was rooting for it.
Yeah.
We needed that. And I do want to give all of you guys credit, because I do feel like Terrifier and all of the hard work that you guys have put into that, from Damien creating and writing the script for what became All Hallows Eve to where we are now, waiting for Terrifier 4 script and all that stuff to be. You guys changed the horror landscape. Like, it's insane what you guys have done. And, you can't walk into any store like a Hot Topic, or obviously Halloween stores, anything that has any kind of pop culture type relevance to products that they put out. You can't go in there without seeing Art the Clown. You can't go in there without seeing some sort of Terrifier related product. And I want to say it, but it's so well warranted. Like, you guys deserved all of that, because I grew up with Scream, and I know that the original Halloween was the first horror film I ever saw. I was 5 years old, I believe, was obsessed with it. And then I feel like Scream kind of changed the face of what was happening in horror at that time. And I know there's been multiple movies over time, but I do want to give you guys so much credit for that happening, because we might not have Sinners today because of the work that you guys have done. And that's incredible. We can talk about Sinners because it's, in a weird way, goes right back to you guys. So all that hard work is paying off in so many different ways. You guys have no idea, but we all see it, and we really love it out here. So
I love it too.
Yeah,
I've missed fun horror movies, so I'm so happy they're back.
Yeah, for sure. Was there a time in any of the Terrifier movies that you've kind of thought maybe you guys went a little bit too far in terms of violence, or anything that made you sick, or that you refused to do?
Yeah, part 3, the part that got me all, because I know that's gotten out there about, where I almost threw up on set one day, was the Aunt Jess death with the rats. It just I don't like puke. I just can't stand puke, and there was a lot of puke. There was a lot more puke that we filmed than what you see in the movie, and that was just rough for me to get through, especially just knowing how bad of a death that is. That was kind of inspired from the old torture method of putting like a rat on someone's stomach and putting a bowl on top and lighting it on fire, so the rat, trying to escape the heat, burrows through the person. So we just did the opposite of that, putting it down the throat. And I'm like, God, that's just horrible. But like I said, that scene was going to get even more dark from that. I wish I could say what it is because who knows? He might add that part into part four. I don't know, but
Sure.
oh my God. I was like, dude, we are going to some dark, dark places. I know there's also, that a lot of controversy around us killing children in this, but we don't actually show the kids dying,
Yeah.
So, I mean, we show the aftermath, but
Sure.
we
Yeah.
didn't show them actually. But I think that's what got people freaked out more is like the beginning scene with Timmy, where you hear it, but you don't see it. So your imagination's going wild. And I think the sound design in that scene is so well done because of that. It's like, it gets such a visceral reaction from people. My dad won't even see the movie because he knows about that scene.
Mm. Yeah. I feel like before I saw Terrifier 3, you heard all the talk about they're killing children now and do they take it too far? Like you said, you're painting a picture in your mind just by hearing that sound design, which
Yeah.
it very much is incredible.
Yeah.
Seeing it in the movie theater with all the surround sound and all the crazy
Oh,
stuff
it's
going on in
amazing.
there, and hearing people's reactions. Obviously, my podcast is the Reaction Shot podcast. I love to
Mhm.
know people's reactions to the movies that they're seeing. The angle is to show these movies to people for the very first time that I love and just see what their reaction is. Like, what did you think
Yeah.
about these things? So I did Terrifier 1 and I did Terrifier 2, and I introduced them to a friend of mine named Lauren, who absolutely hates horror films. She's pretty much scared of everything. She hates violence. Clowns scare her. And I told her, I was like, we're gonna do Terrifier. And she's like, I'm not fucking doing that movie. Like, I'm not gonna watch it. So she watched the first one, literally just like completely covering her face. And Terrifier 2, she did the same exact thing. But she went to the theater to go see Terrifier 3 because she's like,
Wow.
I'm in it now. I'm in it. She had a
Yeah.
couple cocktails before she went, but that was one of the things she told me. She was nervous because she heard about killing kids,
Yeah.
but she said you guys did it as tasteful as you could do it for a
Yeah.
Terrifier film. So cool.
That was definitely a conversation we've had about killing kids. I mean, we were going to do that in part two with the clown cafe scene. Originally, that was going to be little kids in that scene, and we're like, yeah, knowing our political climate right now with mass shootings at schools, like that's probably not a good look to have Art shooting a bunch of kids with a Tommy gun. So we changed it up to having adults dressed as kids.
Yeah.
And I think that we were able to get away with it that way. It still is controversial, but it's not as controversial as that would have been.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you guys made a good choice with all that, and I think that even brought a lot of interesting angles to the clown cafe scene. Just seeing
Mm-hmm.
them dressed as kids, it made it even more creepy in a way. It was just like these kids are like reliving like childhood in a way. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of how I saw it. So you did Stream after you did Terrifier. What was it like working on Stream? I mean, you got so many horror icons in that film.
Yeah.
Tony Todd being one of them. What was it like being on
Oh,
set with these guys?
that was amazing. It was because we did that during the height of COVID, before the
Mm.
vaccines had even come out, and we quarantined ourselves in a hotel in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, for about 6 weeks, filming the majority of the film. And so it's like I wasn't on set the whole entire time, so I came in at a certain point, and I just stayed in there for a week or so filming. And it was kind of cool because you didn't know who was going to be there from day to day. So, okay, what celebrity is dropping in today? It's like,
Hmm.
the guest of the week type of thing. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. So every morning you wake up and you're there grabbing breakfast and doing your tests to make sure we had to do a test every single morning, make sure we were not sick. And it's like, oh yeah, there's Dee Walsh, there's Jeffrey Combs. It's like, this is wild, absolutely
Yeah.
wild. Unfortunately, I didn't get to be on set when Tony was doing his scene. I wish I
Uh,
had been there now because he was. They were hyping him up to be a big part of part two,
yeah.
and of course, we all know what happened with him. Unfortunately, that was a heartbreak there because
Yeah.
I was looking so forward to like working with Tony one day. He's
Yeah.
such an amazing actor, so that was heartbreaking. It's like when I went to go see Final Destination, like his scene that he has in Final Destination this year was just like you could tell that was straight from his heart. That was his goodbye to everybody. It was just I mean I couldn't help but not tear up during that.
Oh, yeah. It was almost with Final Destination. It was almost as he knew where he was at and what was,
Yeah.
the inevitable and that goodbye. Yeah, you definitely felt it. It was all of us watching, and he did a great job. Well, I mean, it's a bummer that you didn't get to meet him, but at the same exact time, you got to share a film with him and so
Yeah.
many other great people. I know you worked with a a lot of the same crew that was behind Terrifier. So I actually interviewed Jamie Root last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was so nice and had so many great things to say about everyone involved with these films and how much fun she has. It's like being a part of one big family.
Jamie's
You,
great.
yeah, yeah, you can see it in her face just how she lit up talking about doing all these things and being with you guys for all of these. I love to hear things like that. And then you just did Scream Boats. What was it like
Yeah.
doing that?
That was a lot of fun too. It was different though because I didn't really act with anybody else on set because they filmed everything else there on the Staten Island Ferry in New York. And because I'm a tiny little mouse, they had to film all my stuff separately. So they filmed everything with them first, and then they put me on a soundstage here in Los Angeles, in Burbank, and they had a digital projection screen behind me. They did both that and the green screen, and so I had to act off of the previously filmed footage
Mhm.
and with giant props and everything. That was a very unique experience. It was fun though. It was a very very hot costume though. It was about a
Oh,
4 hour makeup job, and that I would go through about 5 cooling vests in a day because I was just shooting this in Los Angeles during July in a fur costume where they couldn't turn on the air conditioning in the studio because of the sound, so they had to put fans on me in between takes, and it was tough, but it was only for 4 days for me. But I mean, I still had a lot of fun. I mean, that's how can you not have fun? Where I felt like I was doing like Honey I Shrunk the Kids in a lot of ways. So
yeah.
it's like it was a lot of fun, especially when the day they brought out the giant dick,
Yep. Yeah.
or as I call it, Big Willie.
Yeah, Big Willie. Yeah, there you go. That's
Yeah, I was like, oh, that was. I did not know that was coming out. They bring this thing out. I'm like, oh my god.
uh, yeah, that's you're probably like, what did I get myself into this time?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You played Steamboat Willie, which was what an open domain for the Steamboat Willie character. If you could do that same exact thing with any other Disney character of your choice, who would it be?
Mm. I would probably say Goofy.
Goofy? Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
awesome.
because
You have
Goofy
Goofy.
was also my very first voice I ever learned how to do. So it's
Okay.
like I discovered him in first grade during story time when my teacher's reading us a little Mickey Mouse book, and this girl in my class had a crush on me, and she passed me a note asking me to be her boyfriend. I let out like, "Gosh, of course!" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Well, where did that come from?" And I was like, God,
Uh,
I've always loved Goofy. I think that would be interesting interpretation of the character with a horror slant to him. Yeah, it's like,
Absolutely. That's incredible. You literally sounded just like him.
I've worked on that voice a long time. It's been
Yeah.
about 40 years I've been doing that voice. So, gosh, of course, I can do that if you want me to.
That's incredible. Yeah, now we
Yeah,
need that to happen. So whoever's listening to
yeah,
this, please, let's get that public domain for Goofy,
whenever it
please. And
becomes a public domain, I guess,
yeah,
it's like, because originally he was, Dippy Dog. That was his real original name. So, yeah,
that's right. I forgot about that.
no,
Hmm.
no.
Okay. Well, hey,
It's
you
like
never know.
Mickey's original voice was, original name was Mortimer.
Oh, I didn't know
It
that at
was
all.
Mortimer Mouse. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. I was
yeah.
actually I ended up at a Disney trivia the other day,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay, I might be good at this. I was not. But one of the questions was, what were the first two words ever spoken on screen by Mickey Mouse?
Hot dog.
Oh my God, you know that. That's
Yep.
incredible. Wow. I see, I obviously
Everybody
sucked
thinks it's
because
oh boy, and I'm like, no, it's hot dog.
yeah, I literally wrote down oh boy because I'm like, I got this in the bag.
Yeah.
I'm gonna win, and I won nothing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I'm glad that you knew that.
Oh,
Sad that I didn't during trivia, but that's okay. No big
yeah.
deal.
I've
I'm
done my
still here.
research.
Yeah, I feel like I need to go deeper into some Disney stuff here. So what's next for you, David? I mean,
Uh,
other than Terrifier 4.
I've got several irons in the fire right now. It's a weird year right now. It's like because the industry's kind of weird, but I have, of course, there's Terrifier 4 in the works. Damien's hard at work writing that. They also recently announced Stream 2 is in the works as well, and I'm going to be returning to that. There's possibility they might do a sequel to Screamboat. I'm not sure yet, but there's talks.
Okay.
And there's some other films that they have talked about. with my director from Joker's Wild, which has been a side note that's been winning all these different festivals that we've been submitted to worldwide. We've been sweeping those, which is insane. But he's
Well
written.
deserved.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Hoping James Gunn notices.
He better. He better.
And put me in, coach.
Yes, put him in.
Yeah, I'm cheaper than Skarsgård anyway. So
Well, hey, you know what? You
yeah.
bring so much to that. I'm so happy to hear that you guys are getting a lot of recognition for that. I know you've been getting nominated for so many things. A lot of the projects you're a part of have been getting nominated for all different types of awards, and that's another feat for you that you should be insanely proud of. And Joker's Wild was no exception to that.
We just did that on a whim. We just
Yeah.
like it originally started. They just wanted to put me in Joker makeup and do a photo shoot with me, and we're like, well, I can do monologues as the Joker. Why don't we put those on film? And he's like, even better. Why don't we just do a scene? And I'm like, awesome. And that's what we came up with, and we did that in just one day on just a few $1,000. We had
Wow.
no idea it was going to get the kind of following. It's got some following now, which is crazy. There's a lot of fan art and stuff like that. It's insane. So who knows? But like that same director's written two different scripts that I really like. That I would actually be able to not have to be in a lot of creature makeup, and I would also be able to talk in them. And they're both fantastic scripts. And he's right now shopping them around to studios. So I'm knocking on wood for those. And then I have two other films that should be coming out this year. One's called The Dead Place, and another one's called Namaka. And I have speaking roles in both. So hopefully those go well.
Yeah, absolutely. That was actually one of the questions I had. I wanted to ask you, like, are you looking forward to a time that you can be on film and pretty much have no makeup on and talk a lot? Like,
Oh yeah.
that's yeah.
Oh yeah, it's. To me, I don't have to talk a lot. As long as it's a fun role. Like the role I have in Namaka is, I'm just like in one scene in it, and it's just a fun little character role. And it's like I'm totally happy with doing that. I think they originally wanted me to play a much bigger role in the movie, but I didn't have time at that point. And plus, I also didn't feel like that character fit me as well. But I'm like, oh, here's a homeless man. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll play him. That sounds like fun.
It's great. Love
Because
it.
that's all it is. That's all that matters to me. As long as I can have fun, it's like as long as something I feel I can have a lot of enjoyment playing. I'll do. I don't care how big or small the role is.
Nice. I love that. It's kind of full circle with our conversation here, where we started and where we're at in the world right now. And we need that. I think, with media and art in general, we
Yeah.
just we need to have fun again. That's what we need. And however that fun comes about, if it's a horror film, if it's a comedy film, if it's a romantic comedy, whatever,
Yeah.
we need to have
I'll do
fun.
them all. I would
Yeah.
love to get back into comedy. I recently started watching the series The Studio.
I haven't watched
It's
it yet. I've heard
fantastic.
great things. Yeah.
I've only seen two episodes, and so far I'm just like, this is brilliant. It's
Yeah.
brilliant comedy. It's just absolutely just brilliant. It's like I would love to do a project like that. Oh my god,
Oh,
especially with that kind
absolutely.
of ensemble they have on that. It's amazing. I just watched the episode where it's all like one continuous shot. It's called The Oneer.
Okay.
It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
all about it's like it's all about filming a oneer. That's the beauty of the scene. It's all filmed in one continuous shot, and they're talking. And the whole premise is about filming a one continuous shot for a film. It's so chaotic and fun. I loved it. I was like, this is brilliant comedy. I'm like, I'm wanting more of that kind of comedy again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very it's like intellectual comedy. It's not just coming from
Yes.
repetitive things from the past that
Yeah.
are a little more simplistic comedy, I guess you would say. But I think it sounds like I need to start that right after I get off this call with you
Yeah,
because I've
definitely.
been wanting
I
to.
highly recommend it. It's amazing cast in it too. So it's like
Yeah,
it's just like great.
you can't go wrong. With the way the world is right now, we need to have fun again, and I'm so glad that you're a part of doing that. With things that are going on in the world, you're very outspoken online about how you feel about the political climate. There are a lot of people who have such a huge stage that they stand on that people are watching. and
Yeah.
they don't use their voice to speak about how they feel, regardless of what it is. They kind of keep things away because they don't want to lose people from following them, watching their art. And I applaud you for speaking your truth. I think we need so much more of that in the world,
Thank you.
not even just in film, not even just from a celebrity perspective of people watching you because you're David Howard Thornton who plays Art the Clown. It's not even that. It's just you have such a big platform, and the fact that you're using that is perfect. And how do you deal with people attacking you?
Yeah, it's been definitely been difficult because I mean I've been outspoken against him for over a decade, really, before he even got into politics, because there's personal stuff that's happened that impacted a friend of mine. So I have a personal dislike towards him. So it's like I don't want to get into that,
Sure.
but it's one of those things where like they always say, with great power comes great responsibility, and it's like I feel like it is my duty to speak out against certain wrongs in the world. And I look at like I grew up in Huntsville, Alabama. A lot of the my grandfather was on the original von Braun team. He was with the Army Missile Command when they brought all the Germans over with Operation Paperclip, and they lived in the same community as all those former, I hate to say it, Nazi scientists. And these were men that were forced to work for Hitler or die. They were not given a choice. And the stories I heard from these men and women, so many of them saw horrible things happening for, because all that didn't the all Hitler's rise didn't happen just momentarily. It was over a decade or so, and they saw it slowly happening, and they were, I was like, yeah, we saw it happening and we never said anything. And then it got to the point where we just couldn't say anything, or risk ourselves being taken out. And I just always remembered that coming from them. It's like where they were like, we wish we had said something sooner before things got really bad. And that's how I feel about things. It's like I feel like we have to. Speaking as someone that has a degree in history, I have a minor in history. You're supposed to learn from what happened in the past so you don't repeat those same mistakes. And I've been seeing so many parallels to what has happened back in the 1930s in Germany, and it scares me. And I feel like it is my duty, as not as just as a celebrity, but as a human being, to speak out against what I see what's happening, and what these wrongs I see, these atrocities happening against decent people. And I can't stay silent. And I look at Charlie Chaplin back in the 30s. He was told to stay silent by the studios, and he told them no. And he made probably one of the most influential films throughout history, The Great Dictator, in response to that. And it has one of the most powerful monologues in that movie, and that came as a response where he was like, I can't stay silent when I see these horrible, horrible things happening to people outside of the US. And now it's happening inside of our own country, and I can't stay silent. And I have lost fans, and I sometimes have gotten a little ugly with people, but I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't care. It's like when you have people being thrown in concentration camps and people are selling merchandise off those concentration camps, something has to be said.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just bad people. It's like they've thrown innocent people into these concentration camps. They've been denied due process, which is against our Constitution. People have died. Innocent people have died,
Yeah.
and it's atrocious. And I feel it's my duty to speak up, because if I'm not going to speak up and other people aren't going to speak up, it's only going to continue, because bad things are only allowed to happen when good people stay silent, and we can't stay silent. So I'm happy to see that other celebrities out there are also speaking up, and I think I'm kind of miffed with those that don't, because they're more concerned about losing a fan base than actually standing up for decency. Because if we don't speak up, it could get worse, and they could come for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's scary. And so I'm very happy to see people like Pedro Pascal and like James Gunn, and Mike Flanagan, so many other, Mark Hamill, all these people taking a stand.
Yeah. Like I said, I love to see it, and that's what needs to happen. We need to speak up, and it's insanely important. And I always say this isn't a political thing. This isn't
No,
just about Democrats and Republicans. This is literally a human thing. This is
yeah,
humanity literally being drugged down and forced to literally take away every right that everyone has. And if we're not a cis white billionaire, we don't even matter. That's what we're being told. And part of the LGBTQ community, I recently saw in I want to say Kentucky, maybe Alabama, but there is a Baptist church that actually made news there where they're asking the government to find a way to make it legal for them to let the LGBTQ community go ahead and kill themselves in like public settings, and that they think that that's what should happen. And this was literally on the news. I saw the picture, full screenshot, and I'm like, this is not
mm-hmm.
real. Someone's
No,
making this stuff up. And I typed in what I saw in the picture, the article, and it was like a local news channel. I mean, it wasn't like CNN or anything like that. But
no.
to hear things like that, it's so
Disgusting. It's
yeah.
disgusting because we're supposed to be better than that at this point, and that's what this. I mean, that reminds me of like what happened to it's that same mentality is what killed my uncle.
Mm,
Is my who I'm named after. He was my aunt's first husband, and he came out of the closet after they were married, and they divorced, but they remained friends. We still considered him my Uncle David. And I met him my first time when I was 2 years old. We down in New Orleans because we went down to go to a funeral in Lake Charles where my dad's originally from a family member, and we went back and we're gonna go see. Finally, you can meet your Uncle David, and he and his partner bought a lot of toys for me. I still remember it very vividly. I was actually had a whole almost breakdown when I was in New Orleans this past weekend at a con because we drove by down there in the French Quarter near Cafe du Monde where I just had just all this sensory memory come back to me from when I was 2, spending my time with my Uncle David down there. And they treated me so well. He was just such a sweet, kind man. And shortly after, a few weeks later, I believe, he was murdered by the KKK, I believe. He was hung, gagged, and tied up. And the police covered it up and ruled it as a suicide.
oh my God, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
And it's to this day, it enrages me when I see that kind of behavior from people saying, the people of the LGBTQ community should kill themselves, because I was robbed of knowing a wonderful human being because of people that thought that way.
Yeah.
A very kind man, a loving man was taken from this world because of bigotry like that. And I can't stand it. And that's why my whole entire life I've been a huge ally of the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
Because it's like everybody deserves a chance to live a free and happy life.
Yeah.
And for people to say that these people should die just for who they are and who they were born as, it's just disgusting. That's eugenics. That is Nazism. And that is wrong.
Yeah, I'm so incredibly sorry to hear that. That's a very tragic story, and I wish we were in a better place to where we could just not be hateful towards anyone. It's
But that's why we have to be speaking out against this, because that's how we get to that place.
Yeah.
You have to speak out against it, or it's allowed to continue.
I'm sorry to bring all of this into it, but it's like you said, it's an important conversation to have, and I'm glad that we're having it, and I'm glad that you do speak up about it, and keep being you and fighting for what's right, and that's just human fucking decency. We need more of that with art, not just as Art the Clown, but just art in general. To have a platform to create the fun escapism is what we definitely need right now. Well, David, I really appreciated you taking the time to talk to me. I feel like I kept you a little bit longer than I planned to,
It's okay.
but I really enjoyed talking to you. I think you're extremely talented, and you're doing some great stuff out there, and it's not just on screen. I constantly see you posting things you want to fight for and things that we believe in. So keep fighting the good fight, and keep putting out all this great work. And we got a legion of fans and people who love to see what you're doing, and going to Comic Cons and meeting all these people and making some of their dreams come true, to meet Art the Clown or David Howard Thornton in general. It's just, it's a great thing. And I'm so happy that you're interactive with people. And I'm glad you took the time to chit chat with me on my podcast. And
you're very welcome. It's been fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I know you're a busy man, so you're taking some time out of your schedule where you can sit down, relax, and watch the studio. I apologize. I took an episode away from you for tonight, but
it's all
hopefully
good.
Yeah, but again, I really appreciate this. I look forward to seeing what's next with Terrifier 4 and everything else that you do. So keep it all up, and again, we appreciate it.
Thank you. Great chatting.
Hey, great chatting with you, David. You have a great night. Thanks for listening, and we will see you all next time.